A couple of weeks ago, on June the 28th, Gilberto Ramirez, the unified WBA and WBO Cruiserweight champion, defeated his mandatory for the WBA Uniel Dorticos. That was on the undercard, or as the co-feature or chief support to Jake Paul versus Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. was just it seems like every time I watch a Jake Paul fight, I get more disappointed in myself. But long story short, Jake Paul ended up beating Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. For those who care, I did a video, a few videos prior to this, where Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. was arrested and detained by immigration. And he is currently in a detention camp, and he's going to be deported, jailed, and he will likely never be allowed back in the United States again. So for those who care about that. Jake Paul is now ranked in the top 15 by the WBA. And for those who don't know, if you are ranked by the top 15 in any of the sanctioning bodies, meaning the four major belts in boxing, the WBC, WBA, IBF, and the WBO, that means you're eligible to fight for a world title, which is something I'm heavily against. So right now, Jake Paul is ranked number 14 by the WBA, but here's the thing. Jake Paul wants to fight Badou Jack. And the reason why that's important is because I was thinking to myself that Jake Paul was going to be linked to fight Gilberto Ramirez or go after him. After all, he's ranked in the same sanctioning body as Gilberto Ramirez. And also he had Gilberto Ramirez fight on his undercard or as the co-feature. But it looks like Jake Paul is having a change of thought, and now he wants to target WBC champion Badou Jack. TstreeT Controversy with 5U360. You've got my colleague from Australia, Big J, on the line. The champions in the Cruiserweight division are Tszyu Opetaia, IBF and Ring Magazine champion, Gilberto Ramirez, WBA, WBO, Badou Jack, the WBC, Michael Cieslak, the WBC interim, and Noel McCallion has been ordered in a mandatory rematch against Badou Jack. Unless Noel McCallion takes step-aside money, politically, the Jake Paul fight can happen, but Jake Paul is not ranked by the WBC. But the WBC has just as little credibility to me as the WBA, so I will not be surprised if the WBC were to allow it to happen. So I guess what I'm saying is, not to be long-winded, there is a chance that finally we can see Tszyu Opetaia versus Gilberto Ramirez in actually a meaningful fight, and the best fight you can make at the cruiserweight limit of 200 pounds. That would be for 4 titles: the lineal championship, the Ring Magazine belt. Anybody who has the Ring Magazine belt in any division, they're considered the man of the man in the division. So if Opetaia was to fight Gilberto Ramirez, then he would be fighting for the WBA, defending his IBF, and also fighting for the WBO, and therefore he would only have to collect the WBC to be undisputed and the last undisputed champion in Cruiserweight, since Alexander Usyk did it back in, I don't remember what year, I want to say it was 2019, I don't remember, in the World Boxing Super Series tournament. So now, when we look at what's been going on with Tszyu Opetaia's rankings, he has to fight this Hussein Sin or he has to fight a unification, fight Gilberto Ramirez. Sin Cara is his mandatory. Opetaia's team do not want to fight Sin Cara. By the way, he was supposed to fight Sin Cara before he fought the Claudio guy, the last guy whose jaw is broken, back in the first week of June. So that would be, what would that be? Let's see, Tszyu Opetaia 28-0 with 22 KOs. His last 3 fights since the rematch with Breedis has been Jack Massey, David Nika, and Claudio Secoy, and then he will fight Hussein Sin Cara, which would be a horrible 4-fight run. So him and his team are wise, and they've been chasing a big fight, but nobody really wants to fight. Nobody of note really wants to fight Tszyu Opetaia because he's high risk, low reward. Now, I was getting a lot of shit in my post-fight video for Gilberto Ramirez beating Uniel Dorticos, because I was like, wait a minute now, okay, I've seen enough to say this is a 50-50 fight, or I can possibly edge Gilberto Ramirez to win because I have concerns about Opetaia when we get later on in the fight. Now, Opetaia, in my opinion, I'm going to give him the edge of being he's going to be the faster fighter. I'm going to give him the edge in being the better technical fighter, but Gilberto Ramirez is a really good technical fighter. He can jab, he's got the straight, he can go to the body, he can move, especially for a guy who's coming up from 168 pounds. However, the power of Gilberto Ramirez is still a question at the cruiserweight limit, because since he's been there, he's had 4 fights. Since losing to Dimitri Bivol at 175 in 2022. He fought Joe Smith Jr. in 2023. Joe Smith Jr. also a long-time light heavyweight, so I really can't count that as a full cruiserweight win. In my opinion, it is, but because of the weight, but for example, they both weighed in under 192 pounds. Then he fought Ruslan Gulamarian, March of 2024. Long time, full-blown, even though, notoriously inactive, but long-time, full-blown cruiserweight. He fought Chris Billam-Smith, completely outclassed and schooled him, busted up his eye. That was in November of 2024. And he fought Uniel Dorticos, a very scary puncher. However, he was able to weather the storm. So what I've seen in that fight, and you can say that, well, Dorticos is damn near 40 years old. Well, so was Miras Briedis, even though, well, Miras Briedis beat Uniel Dorticos in the past. The point I'm trying to make is, right now, I feel that Gilberto Ramirez has an overall better resume at cruiserweight than Jai Opetaia, because what does Jai Opetaia have? He just has on his cruiserweight record Miras Briedis and nothing else. Already, Gilberto Ramirez has Uniel Dorticos, Chris Billam-Smith, and Ruslan Gulamarian. And if you want to count Joe Smith Jr., remember, he retired Bernard Hopkins and was a former champion then at 175 pounds. He was the guy, if you don't remember, that knocked Bernard Hopkins out of the ring in Bernard Hopkins' last fight. So that's the groundwork. Let's get Big J's thoughts on just everything. First, how did you think Gilberto Ramirez looked against Uniel Dorticos? And what impressed you, and what did you see as a weakness that Jai can exploit?
Well, the weakness for Ramirez is that you saw those punches coming from a week away. They were very slow, and you could see him coming. Like, he had good volume of punches. But Jai's going to be a lot faster and hit a lot stronger than what Roberto Ramirez is used to. So I think in the cruiserweight division, the two top dogs are Ramirez and Jai Opetaia. There's no buts and maybes about it. Even though Ramirez has only had 3 fights at cruiserweight, his resume is way better than Jai's, because he's beaten not one but 2 champions for their belts.
Yeah.
Jai beat Briedis twice, but Briedis was at the arse end of his career. And look what he did to him, even though he was 38 years old and still not taking it that seriously. He rearranged his face for him. Imagine if Briedis took him seriously, he would have knocked him out in 6 rounds.
Yeah.
So I think, as you said, if Jai's going to beat Ramirez, he has to beat him in the first 6 or 7 rounds, and otherwise Jai will just start gassing, because he has a tendency to burn out. Because he burnt out in the first 2 what do you call them?
Yeah,
Briedis fights, even the second one. And the second one, by round 9, he was buggered, and Briedis won the last 3 rounds. Easy.
Yeah.
So,
well, go ahead.
And Ramirez has a hell of a gas tank on him. He looks like a pudgy little fucker, but his conditioning is ridiculous. Even though he looks completely out of shape, his conditioning's spot on. He doesn't burn out. So, where Jai seems to. So.
Yeah, and that's the question.
The level of competition.
Because go ahead.
The level of competition for Jai is weak as piss. Roberto Ramirez has fought, far greater talent than Jai could ever hope to fight at the moment. And all that experience has got to account for something. So, and he just didn't beat Chris Billam-Smith. He beat the absolute shit out of Chris Billam-Smith. Yeah. Right, didn't look that flash against this last bloke that he fought. Didn't see the Gormillion fight, but Gormillion was hanging on by a thread. He was at the back end of his career. So, but yeah, if you get off the Chris Billam-Smith win, Ramirez tied him up the entire bloody fight. So,
And also Ramirez is a long time 168-pound champion. So even though we're talking about the cruiserweight division, for him just to be 34 years old, and that's a baby, in the cruiserweight and the heavyweight divisions kinda, and Jai's even younger. But the point I'm trying to make is, he's got a lot of experience behind him. And you know, here's what I noticed about Gilberto Ramirez, and Junior Dorticos was testing it earlier in the fight, and then he stopped going to the body. I noticed that Gilberto Ramirez was having issues defending the body against Dorticos. And that's something that Jai should be able to or try to exploit early on, especially if Jai is going to try to get him out of there and make sure it doesn't go into the latter half of the fight where Gilberto Ramirez is going to be more experienced.
I agree, because he's got that soft belly. Why not just punch the living shit out of it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's if I was Jai, that's what I'd be doing. I'd be going straight after his belly.
And we talked about that dynamic before of Gilberto Ramirez. He's basically walking around at his walk around weight.
Exactly.
So his training is more focused on conditioning as far as making sure he's keeping himself, not gassing out, but actually working on skill regarding some fighters having to go to camp just to lose weight. I'm not saying it's the case with Opetaia, but Gilberto Ramirez has that advantage of, this is his walk around weight. So he doesn't have the issue of having, to worry about cutting weight and really watching his diet as much as he would when he was fighting at, 154 pounds, 168 pounds. And if I'm going to go and scroll down his resume here, you can see Gilberto Ramirez at one point in time back in 2009 was as low as 160 pounds. And he was a long time 168-pound champion. So that goes to show, he's had that discipline throughout his career, and he's never missed weight to, be able to make the weight division that he was in. So, but once again, he was always known as that type of fighter, even at 168, of being so big and so active for his size. So I'm even surprised as how well he's looked at 168 pounds to be, at cruiserweight to be now a unified champion, but on his way to possibly being, if he gets past Opetaia, an undisputed champion. That would be, he's got his own record to chase right there. And if I'm correct, he's the only Mexican unified champion at cruiserweight, or maybe even the only. I know it may be hard to believe, but I believe the stat is he may be the only Mexican cruiserweight champion ever. There's some type of record there. But hopefully we'll be able to get that fight sooner than later, meaning next, maybe in October, November. I have high doubts that it's going to happen. But then again, I have doubts that it's going to happen in Australia, but you really never know. And I don't see Gilberto Ramirez being the two-belt champion going to Australia. But do not be surprised if this fight happens in Saudi Arabia or possibly Mexico. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think it'll happen in Mexico. I think Saudi Arabia will probably be. That's most likely it will happen in Riyadh season.
Yeah.
Mexico, yeah, maybe. I don't know, but it definitely won't happen in Australia. There's no way in hell they're going to bring it to Australia, because Jai's not a big enough name. His last fight, they struggled to sell, a 7,000-seat arena.
Yeah.
So Jai's not a huge, because he can't talk, because of his jaw, but he's not a huge ticket seller.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not going to happen here in Australia. It should, but it's simply not going to. So I think they'll take it to the Saudis, where they'll get the most money, or they'll take it to Mexico, where they'll get a shitload of people to rock up and watch it.
Yeah, so I'm guessing we're going to have to wait to see what Jake Paul's going to do, because all of a sudden now, like it or not, he's become kind of the money man in the division. And of course, Gilberto Ramirez and Badou Jack would rather fight Jake Paul, get an easy win. Maybe not Badou Jack as much. It's crazy I'm saying that. I still would pick Badou Jack to win, but I just think that Badou Jack would be an easier fight for Jake Paul than Gilberto Ramirez. So it's a shame it has to be this way, but you got to think, if you're Gilberto Ramirez, or Badu Jack, or even Jai Opetaia. You would fight Jake Paul and get that easy payday before you fight any of the other guys. And that's just unfortunately the business of boxing that, we're in right now. But, how do you see the fight going? Final predictions and final thoughts.
I'm saying Jai Opetaia would surprise a few people, and I reckon he'll get him in 7 rounds. Even though Roberto Ramirez has never been knocked down, he's never been hit by someone like Jai either.
Yeah, people would argue Dorticos, but you can say Jai Opetaia is young and in his prime.
Exactly. Jai's in the thick of his prime. Ramirez, the old mate, was 39 years old.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and he clipped Ramirez a couple of times in fight earlier in the fight. So, if Jai hits him, he'll know about it. Because Jai can bloody hit. But then again, Jai's level of competition has not been what it should be.
Yeah.
He's fought, David Nika, hell of a nice guy, like the kid, but he's a 10-fight novice.
Yeah.
Old mate is an Italian who, 5'8", looked like he was a blown-up super middleweight. He didn't look like a cruiserweight. Jai beat the piss out of him. And these other low-level guys, as I said, you can't be an elite fighter if you keep on fighting low-level guys. So,
and by the way, let's make sure, because they're going to be pissed at me and you. Explain how we understand, it's not Jai's fault. But I've been noticing that fans are thinking that we're blaming Jai for this.
Bullshit, we're not blaming Jai. How's it Jai's fault?
Yeah.
So Jai can only fight who they put in front of him, but it's bloody Eddie's fault because Eddie keeps feeding him dead men. Yeah,
but you got to keep him active, though.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
true. The active fighter is a dangerous fighter. I've said that many, many times. So people shouldn't. Why you can go, for God's sake, can't they find someone better?
And the cruiserweight division is so weak, though.
Yeah, that's why Jai gets a lot of leeway, because the cruiserweight division is weak as fucking piss. So, that's why anyone in cruiserweight, not just Jai, but any cruiserweight gets, okay, mate, you get a bit of a pass because there's not much going on there.
Yeah.
So.
And then the bigger fights have been going to, Gilberto Ramirez.
Exactly.
What little there's been.
The cruiserweight division is the redhead stepchild of boxing. So.
Yeah. I have these names up here. You got Michael Cieslak. Don't nobody want to see Gilberto Ramirez and Chris Billum Smith again, because that's gaining some traction, because Billum Smith is he is one fight away, or if I'm correct, the mandatory again for the WBO. You got
I'll tell you what, Chris Billum versus Jai is a good fight.
Yeah.
That would I like that, because that would, if Jai comes out and annihilates Chris, wouldn't look so good for Ramirez.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we got at least one fight there that can possibly move the needle for Opetaia, and that's the Chris Billum Smith fight. But as I'm looking at anything else, or maybe Noel McCallion, that's the guy who a lot of people thought that beat Badu Jack. I actually had Badu Jack edging it, but a lot of people thought McCallion got that win. So you got 2 fights there that can buy.
3.
Well, yeah, 3. But I'm talking about 2 fights that can possibly buy him time. Before, if he doesn't get Ramirez. But all right, closing thoughts?
I hope he fights Jake Paul so he can knock his fucking head off.
Yeah, I'll be shocked if I see that. That would be surprising.
Oh, that'd be good, though, because Jai would fucking murder him.
Yeah. Jake ain't dumb, though. That's why he pivoted from Ramirez to Badu Jack, because let's face it, Badu Jack is the weakest of the champions. And also, Badu Jack is a former 168-pounder, just like Gilberto Ramirez.
You've got to give the young fella credit. He's playing the smart, long game.
Yeah.
I'll volunteer myself. I'll give the little smart ass a good smack.
Yeah.
So pay me $30 million. I'll give him a good smack.
Yeah, and also, Jake Paul is also being linked to Tank Davis, and yes, that's for boxing fans, that's really a thing. When Tank Davis fought Lamont Roach, that fight was a draw back in March. Tank Davis was talking about the press conference that his next opponent was in the locker room with him. Jake Paul was at the fight. Basically, it was already confirmed they were in talks. If Tank Davis would have beat Lamont Roach, we would have seen the ridiculousness of 5'4" Tank Davis, 135 pounds, going against the 6', 200-pound Jake Paul. But I'm glad that we didn't get that.
We saw his brother. We saw his brother take on Floyd. So stranger things have happened. And I'll ask you a question: which brother do you like better? Because I like the Logan kid better.
Well, you know what? No, Logan is a highly skilled wrestler. I like Logan better.
No, I like because what he does in WWE for someone that's had fuck all training.
Yeah,
it's nothing short of bloody amazing.
A 220-pound high flyer.
I like what the kid's doing. So anyone that has a go at him for what he does at WWE, fuck off, leave him alone. He's doing a great job.
He's an athlete over there. The moves I've been seeing him pull off. And as you said, for him to not have any long-term. He wrestled when he was younger. But not pro wrestling where you're putting your body on the line and doing all the flipping and the somersaults on the outside of the ring on the tables. You got to give him respect for that.
Absolutely. I think the kid's doing great stuff. Good on him.
So I was going to move on, and I was going to talk about I want to say, I don't want to call him like the middle guys in Australian boxing, people like Alex Winwood, Shanika Johnson, who's fighting later on, Liam Paro, Sam Goodman, Sky Nicholson. We're going to talk about them, but until Big J brought it up, I forgot all about this Paul Gallen Sonny Bill Williams fighting. That's next week. And I'm reading an article here. Paul Gallen's choice of horsehair gloves give fans pre-fight flames with Sonny Bill Williams. So tell me, like, it's gaining momentum up there? Are people starting to care?
Yes and no. To be honest, it's 10 years too late. You and I both know that.
Okay.
Because we've been talking about, how long have we been talking about this bullshit fight? 6
Too long?
Years? Pretty much, I think was one of the first things we brought up when I started working for you.
Yeah. I remember.
How long have we been working together now? 6 years? Something like that.
Yeah, about
anyway,
yeah. How about that? Go ahead.
So this is 10 years too late. Everyone knows that. I think it's just a nice fill-in, but the card is terrible. Well, it's very, very weak. But the biggest thing coming out of it, besides Sonny Bill acting like a dickhead, is that they're trying to build up a potential fight between Danny Green and Chock's sons. So, have the old Green Mundine 3 rivalry started. Danny's young fella's Archie, met him a couple of weeks ago, nice young kid. He's only 17. Mundine's son, I think his name is Rahim. He's on the undercard. I'm not quite sure how old he is, but he's got a few years on young Archie. And they'll spend a decade building that up if they have to. But, Sonny Bill and Gallen, they're just going at each other like a couple of kids. He's a cheat because Gal got, the Sharks, the Cronulla Sharks, was a team that Gal played for in the NRL. They got pinned for drug cheating. When was that? 2013? All right. Gal got caught up in some drug scandal, and I think Sonny Bill got pinned for something around the same time. It was all the same old bullshit, Some guy took something that he shouldn't have, and all hell breaks fucking loose. But anyway, they're sitting there pissing and moaning and going at each other. I have no interest in the fight because it's 10 years too friggin' late. 10 years ago when these boys were playing footy, right, I was all for it. But now they're too old. They're too retired. Sonny Bill got the living piss kicked out of him by Mark Hunt.
Yeah.
Gallen beat Mark Hunt.
And they're charging $70 on stand pay-per-view. I'm looking at it right now. It's going to be $70. And
that's an insult.
Okay, so it's taking place in the Kudos Bank Arena. What was there before? We covered a fight that was there.
I don't
remember.
There at least 3 or 4
okay,
times.
got you.
Tszyu versus Harrison. Tszyu versus Harrison.
Okay, so yeah, I'm looking and I'm thinking like, okay, well, because there's a lot of news stories out there on this right now over the last couple of days, and I'm wondering, like if it's one of those type of fights that's going to be buzzing after fight night. Like, is it one of those in hindsight fights where we're looking at it now and thinking like, oh, it's not going to be a big deal, but then on fight night it's going to be buzzing? I don't know. You know more than me. Because
you pretty much hit the
I haven't
nail
heard
right on the head.
anything about this fight over here until you brought it up.
Well, you know what Australians are like, mate. We love a novelty fight.
Yeah.
Australians built the concept of a novelty fight long before you Yanks ever did. We come up with this. You know, remember we used to have blokes punching on kangaroos in the friggin' circus tents 100 years ago. So, you know, this is nothing new to Australia. So the novelty fight lives on in Australia. I thought it would die by now, but unfortunately it keeps going.
And Paul Gallen
I
getting
think you're
another
right.
payday. He must have made what? How much
$30
do you
million.
think how much do you think? Oh, so I'm talking about since he started boxing, since
$30 million.
2019. Dang.
$30 million. He
Sheesh.
walks around with a shirt. He walks around with a shirt saying, "Oh, I earned $25 million, haven't spent a cent." You haven't seen him walk around that shirt?
No,
Look at the press conference.
but
He
sheesh.
wears it all the time. Yeah, 25 mil, lucky bastard. But those are gross dollars. That's before he taxes and he pays his team and all that other bullshit. But yeah, he would have grossed 25 mil. Because remember, he got paid, what was it? 1.5 mil when he fought Justice Herney. Justice Herney got fuck all. Justice Herney got about 150 grand. Remember, I was losing my mind over that?
Yeah.
So,
and as you said, we talked about it. Hooney's never been the same. By the way, yeah, let's I can't wait to see what Hooney's going to be. What his next move is going to be. Hopefully, they get him back out there. That's the type of loss that he can learn from. Because he was looking so good all the way until he got caught. That was it.
Yeah, and I feel so bad for the kid, but I knew it was coming.
Yeah. No, he impressed.
How long did I say that?
He was impressive. Until that moment.
Yeah, but how long have I been calling that fight?
Yeah.
How long was I going to say he was? The second he came up against someone who could punch, he was fucked.
Yeah.
So, how long have I been saying that for? 3 years now. 4 years?
Yeah. Well, it happened, and he got knocked out by a gassed fighter too. Fighter had nothing else left to give but that punch.
Imagine what those top tier heavyweights are doing.
Yeah.
Bloody pulverizing.
Well, hopefully,
which is a shame.
Mm.
You go ahead.
Oh yeah. So of course, I haven't seen anything on him, and hopefully this hasn't derailed his boxing career at 28 years old. But we haven't heard anything on Alex Winwood at all. We're not gonna spend time. I guess we haven't heard nothing.
No, got nothing.
Yeah.
Got nothing. I haven't even. I should contact Tony Tolge and see what's going on, but I've heard bugger all.
Yeah. And tell me about Liam Parrow's card, because I missed that one. That was a couple of weeks ago as well, on the 25th of June.
Yeah, up in Cairns. What was the name of the lad that Parrow? Well, Parrow kicked the
Jonathan Navarro. He stopped him in 5.
Yeah, 5.
Tied in the corner.
Good. But then again, Parrow, pretty low competition. Oh, that's what I meant. Both Parrow and Wilson have been mandated by the IBF to fight in final eliminators for their respective titles in their respective divisions. That's what I wanted to mention.
Oh, hold on. Let me go find the rankings here, see who those fighters are. So let's start with Liam Wilson. Let me see. What is he at? He's at 130.
135.
Lightweight. Oh, he's
130. Yeah, correct.
he's at 130. So let's see who's there. Liam Wilson, he is ranked number 4 by the WBO.
No, IBF. He got mandated by the IBF.
Okay, got you. Well, he is ranked number 11 by the IBF. So how is he getting? Who are they ordering him to fight? I'm wondering.
I don't know, but he's in the final eliminator.
Oh, well, interesting. Okay, well, interesting. The IBF champion is Eduardo Nunez. WB is Lamont Roach, but he's expected to move up, and Jazza Dickens is expected to be elevated. Oshaki Foster's the WBC. He's got a fight coming up soon. And you got Manuel Navarrete, who is the WBO. We all know how that fight went against Liam Wilson. So that's going to be interesting to see. Right now, I can't think of who they may order him to fight. It will likely be this Sultan Zurbek guy. He's number 3. So for those who don't know, with the IBF, you'll notice in their rankings, they're the only rankings sanctioning body that don't rank a number 1 or a number 2 unless you're the mandatory. So if you're number 1, that means you're the mandatory. And if you see a fighter ranked number 1 and 2, that means those 2 guys have to fight to be the mandatory. So let's see what the next month's rankings is going to look like, and then we'll have a better understanding of who Liam Wilson is likely going to be fighting. And as far as Liam Parrow, let's see here. He is ranked and you said IBF for him too?
Yeah, Liam Parrow, if he wins his IBF eliminator, will be in a rematch with Hitchens. Apparently.
Yeah, that's what it's looking like because he's ranked number 3 by the IBF, so he'll be likely fighting or ordered to fight Landolfo Delgado,
That's
or
him.
to be the mandatory. Okay, and that kind of makes sense for Parro, because he was already a former world champion, and they like to fast track you or give you at least, or for you to have at least a couple of fights before they shoot you back up in the championship competition. As far as Liam Powell versus Richardson Hitchens, I mean, people are still surprised about the Sabril Matias fight, that Liam Powell was able to get that win. But Liam Powell's win over Sabril Matias can age even better depending on how Sabril Matias looks tomorrow. He's going to be fighting Alberto Puyo on the undercard of Edgar Berlanga and Hamza Shiraz and Shakur Stevenson versus William Cepeda. So that's going to be interesting. That's going to be for the WBC title at 140 pounds. So for those who don't know. All right, so did you, I told you about Sharetta Metcalf, right? And basically,
Yeah.
you know,
She beat the Japanese. She beat the Japanese girl that kicked the shit out of Ebony.
yeah, Mayo Yoshida.
Yep.
Sharetta Metcalf is going to be fighting, of course, Australian Shanika Johnson tonight on Netflix. On the undercard, I believe she's on the prelims. You can watch on YouTube of Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano 3, Alicia Baumgartner, and Lord, I forgot the woman's name. But anyway, she's fighting Sharetta Metcalf, and it's going to be for 3 titles. Yeah. Oh, they did put all 4 on. BoxRec no longer shows the WBA champions anymore.
Yeah, it's undisputed because Shanika's got the WBA.
Okay.
Metcalf's got the IBF. Dina Thorslin, who got pregnant, had the WBA, WBC, and apparently
they're vacant.
Paul did. Yeah, Jake Paul. She went. She's pregnant, so she vacated both her titles, and then somehow they threw all the titles in.
I don't like when they do that for women's boxing. I hate when they do that.
I don't like it when they do it, period, because hang on, what about all these other poor girls who are ranked with the WBO, WBC? Why can't they get shots?
This is too much. It's happening, anytime there's a somewhat of a significant fight or televised fight, these sanctioning bodies just say, oh, let's just throw these belts on these women. They haven't earned the belts. So, like, what is Shanika Johnson or Sharetta Metcalf? No disrespect to the ladies. But as far as, boxing and the politics, what have they done to be fighting for undisputed and not having those other 2 vacant belts, the WBC and the WBO, have other women fight for those belts? It doesn't make sense. But let me tell you this. I like Metcalf, but for her, she's a very long, thin fighter, but she's slow as all hell. I'm expecting for this to be a nasty fight, and I gotta be honest, do not be surprised if Shanika wins.
I wouldn't be, because Metcalf is 30. How old is she? She's got to be
40.
6 years older.
No, she's 40.
Oh well. And how old is Shanika?
I didn't know she was that old. Shanika's 30.
Well, I think, advantage Shanika, because remember, once anyone gets up around their 40s, they can age overnight. Like Nina Hughes, the poor thing. She was looking good, and as soon as she got in the ring with Shanika last fight, she looked every second of her 42 years of age, and Shanika just played with her. So that could happen. I mean, they look good, and then they get in the ring, and then they age a decade overnight. So I think that's probably what's going to happen to Metcalf, although I have seen plenty of 40-year-old women kick the living shit out of girls half their age.
Yeah.
So
remind me, that Shannon O'Connell fight, did Shannon O'Connell win, or should that have went to Shanika?
Oh, no. It was a close fight, but Shannon did edge it.
Okay, got you.
On the undercard to Zarafa Mundine, so
gotcha.
That's a while ago.
Yeah. And so that's our only 2 losses: the Shannon O'Connell back in 2021, and Ellie Scottney, who's a really good fighter. In 2023, Ellie Scottney is also fighting on the card tonight as well. So there you go. You got some big news. You could, have an undisputed female champion, and an undisputed female champion that's very marketable. With the way that Shanika likes to promote herself, to say the least.
Well, at least she's not. At least she stepped away from that OnlyFans bullshit. That was only a one and done, thank God.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but, I mean, she's marketable. I mean, she's not the worst looking girl to look at. She's,
Yeah. Well, she said I streamed the weigh-in last night in the press conference. So yeah, she definitely was a star. You know what I mean. This is a woman who showed up in body paint before. So, anyway, moving on. Sky Nicholson fought this last weekend. I actually only saw some highlights of the fight,
bloody
but it was
dreadful.
bloody
dreadful.
So
here's my question.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my question over this. Now that girl that Sky fought was ranked 140 in the division. I didn't even know there was 140 professional women in the entire boxing world.
How about that?
How's there 140 women in the bloody 122 division? And furthermore, Sky didn't even make the weight. She was 124. So what's she now, weight bully?
And then I'm looking at this girl. I like to go deep dive into the resume. So going into the fight, she was 9-3 with 8 KOs. But the women that she's knocked out. So for example, her last 4 opponents.
Not one of those girls that she beat had a win between them.
Exactly. I'm looking at exactly, and there were many debuts. So Sky should be getting shit for this. How did they find ill? These are certain type of fights that they would not allow males to fight. They would not have allowed this.
In Australia, we've only got a handful of YouTubers, as you know, me, the Chump, and a couple of other blokes, and all of us are just giving it to Sky. We're going, this is bullshit.
She should not listen. They would not have sanctioned this fight if it was males fighting. They would not have sanctioned this. This woman that she fought, Carla Camila Campos Gonzalez, she should have never been in there. And for Sky to have been a former world champion, it's like, okay, you know what, Eddie Hearn, I'm going to leave that part alone. But it's like, really? This is who you're going to put her in there against? She was a champion. And then she lost a split decision. What'd you say?
And she misses weight by 2 fucking pounds.
Wild.
So, and then she struts around like she's Mike friggin' Tyson after she beats her in 2 rounds. I'm like, gee, just embarrassing. I mean, I've never been a Sky fan based on her record or ability. I mean, I'm a Sky fan because she's Australian, but on her record and ability, I'm like, and they're like, she's just digging herself a deeper bloody hole.
Yeah, there is no excuse for that level of opponent, and I'm surprised we haven't heard anything about her in a rematch against Tierra Brown. She should be pursuing that.
That ain't gonna happen. Brownie's taking the belt and pissed off. You and I both know that.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Well, we'll see what Sky is doing next, and hopefully it's something significant. But here's another interesting fight that popped up. Sam Goodman is going to be taking on Nick Ball.
For the WBA Featherweight title.
Yeah, he's moving up in weight.
Well, there's been stories that he was struggling to make the weight.
Okay.
And after the Inouye fight, there'd be nothing left of him after the Inouye got hold of him. But after the Inouye fight, he's looking at moving up, but he's going to move up, and he's taking on Nick Ball, and good luck to him. I hope he kicks the living shit out of Ball.
Well, let me say this about Nick Ball. He is undefeated. 22-0-1. A lot of people felt that he should have beaten Ray Vargas. He really came on the scene after he had beat Isaac Dogbay back in 2023, then went on to fight Ray Vargas on that, I believe, if I'm correct, that was that card that featured Anthony Joshua, Otto Wallin, and Deontay Wilder. No, wait, that was another card. I believe that was the Joshua Ngannou card. But either way, it was one of them Riyadh cards. A lot of people felt he should have beaten Ray Vargas. So he's got a pretty solid resume of Isaac Dogbay, Ray Vargas, Raymond Ford, Ronnie Rios, and TJ Doheny. But here's the thing. He's got those wins, but I never looked at him as being Nick Ball, meaning a dynamic type of fighter. And also, the guy is really small. He's 5'2". So, he's a bulldogish type of fighter, pressures you and swarms you. But what I've seen, and I'm not saying he's going to win, but what I've seen with Sam Goodman and Raisa Lean those years ago, I think he has the tools to be able to do it. You know, that's a fight to watch out for. I think he has the tools to be able to do it.
That'll be interesting because if Inoue moves up, he'll get that Inoue fight.
Yeah, finally. How about that? And Inoue, he's got 2 more fights left at 122 before he moves up. It's already been determined that he's going to fight Marjan Akhmadaliev. That's going to be in September. And then they want to go right to Junto Nakatani sometime at the beginning of next year. And Junto Nakatani and Inoue have been floating around Turkey, Al Sheikh, and Riyadh season cards. So, that goes to show you, well, if you know how Turkey Al Sheikh does, he doesn't bullshit around with making the fights that fans want to see. So, but yeah, that's a fight to watch out for, that Nick Ball, Sam Goodman fight. That is going to be on the undercard of Dylan White versus Moses Atama, also a fight that I'm highly interested in, where, I think Dylan White's going to get his head knocked off. So, all right. So, now on to the final topic. The big fight coming up next week, or the big card, with the return of 46-year-old Manny Pacquiao. And yes, it's a real fight. Manny Pacquiao is returning next week, July 19th, on PBC on Prime pay-per-view to take on Mario Barrios for the WBC title at 147 pounds, at 46 years old. Now, just so happens, Mario Barrios is viewed as the weaker of the 147-pound champions. Now, let me go ahead and say, Boots Ennis has already moved up. He's vacated his IBF. He's expected to vacate his WBA title, which Rolly Romero, who got that shock win over Ryan Garcia, will be the full WBA champion. And then you got Brian Norman Jr., who is going to be fighting in November on the undercard, or as the co-feature to David Benavidez and Anthony Yard. Brian Norman is going to be fighting Devin Haney. So Brian Norman, he hasn't really done anything for me to look at him as being a significant champion. Rolly Romero, even though he beat Ryan Garcia ain't really do shit. And the IBF is pretty weak, where you're going to have Lewis Crocker taking on Paddy Donovan for the vacant. So overall, basically what I'm saying is, it's depending on how Manny Pacquiao looks, it's a pretty weak division where Manny Pacquiao, and this is the big story, could possibly maybe become another unified champion at 46 years old. But that's a video for another time, and I'm going to get Big J's thoughts on that at the end of our preview for Sebastian Fundora and Tszyu is finally happening. Sebastian Fundora has vacated his WBO title. He was ordered to fight Xander Zayas, and they said, you know what, we're going to move forward. And they're going to fight Tszyu. And by the way, Virgil Ortiz and Bakram Murtazaliev are also in talks. And Terrence Crawford still holds on to that WBA belt and the WBO interim. He hasn't been fully elevated yet. From my understanding, Terrence Crawford is expected to be made a champion in recess. And the guy Xander Zayas is going to be fighting in a couple of weeks in the last card on Top Rank on ESPN. It's going to be for the full title. But how do you feel about Fundora versus Tszyu? Both fighters have changed tremendously since then. Tszyu lost 2 straight, got his dick pushed in by Bakram Murtazaliev. He bounced back pretty good in his last fight against Joey Spencer, knocked him out, looked, menacing again. And Sebastian Fundora, well, he was bullshitting around, and I'm still mad about that, waiting around for Errol Spence and blowing a payday against possibly Terrence Crawford or Tszyu earlier, all to go and fight Cordell Booker because of his management, who I'm not a fan of. But what we've seen with Fundora against Cordell Booker, remember, he's only had 1 fight since Tszyu. But with Booker, he looks like he's maturing into, or has matured into, the fighter that he's supposed to be for 6'5", 6'6" at 150 pounds, meaning using his height and his reach and jabbing and working off of that. But let me get your thoughts on how the first fight went, and what Tszyu did wrong, how you felt about how they tried to screw him over for the rematch, and how you feel about both fighters now.
Well, I mean, for the first fight, Tszyu didn't do anything wrong because it was a free cut. His corner should have stopped it. But then again, Tim should have said, I can't see, stop the bloody fight.
Yeah.
But fighters don't do that. So,
Do you remember what round he was cut in?
Second, at the end of the second.
Okay, so if he would have stopped it before 4, they would have went to the scorecards, and he was up on the scorecards, he would have won.
So, yeah, it would have been a technical draw if they stopped it at the second round when they should have.
Yeah.
Tim would have kept his belt. So, and he probably would have got the Crawford fight. I think what Tim needs to do is go after the body. He needs to reinforce his body work because he was a ferocious body puncher, and Fundora's just begging to be hit with that long torso that he's got. You can just bust his ribs, and once his head drops, uppercut his head off.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what he's been doing. As you said, Fundora needs to use his jab and use his height to his full advantage to become that 6'5" fighter and not fight like a 5'7". The second he tries to fight like a 5'7" fighter, Tim will kick the living piss out of him. So he needs to fight like he did in the first fight as a 6'5" fighter and just keep Tim away from him.
Yeah.
So that's all he needs to do to win. I think it's a 50-50 fight, but I think if Tim does what he needs to do and sticks to the game plan, I think it'll be like he'll catch him like Brian Mendoza did and knock him out in 7 rounds.
I mean, I look at it like this. They're going to be going in there against each other a second time after both fighters, for one, remember, Sebastian Fundora didn't come out of that fight unscathed. He got his nose broken. And he was, medically banned from fighting for several months. So he didn't come out unscathed. But I'm not confident in. See, for one, we saw that, Tszyu looked good against Joey Spencer after, being demolished in 3 rounds by Bakram or Tazaliev. But for both fighters, we really haven't seen too much, since they fought each other. I mean, they both had one fight in between. One got stopped and one fought a lower level competition in Cordell Booker. So I'm interested to see how they're going to approach this fight. And also, as we talked about before, and as you mentioned, if Tszyu is going to be dealing with some in-ring mental issues about, worrying about getting cut again.
Yeah.
And more so being more cautious or overly cautious to where it jeopardizes his offense because he's going to be too concerned about getting cut.
Yeah, well, you'll have to prove that in the ring, but I didn't see any problems with that with the Joey Spencer fight. But then again, Joey Spencer was a fringe contender, low-level guy.
Yeah.
And Tim just used him as food to get his confidence back. I think it's a really 50-50 fight because you don't know which way it's going to go. Because both guys have had a full camp. Both guys are preparing for each other. They're not just on a whim and a prayer. Because remember, both guys had 10 days notice to prepare for each other the first time. Yeah,
there is that too.
I still say the whole thing was bullshit. PBC, Keithy Thurman was never going to fight Tim. The whole thing was bullshit.
You really believe that?
I'm sticking to that. Fuck yes. There's no way they were going to put Keith Thurman in front of Tszyu. Tszyu would have kicked the living piss out of him, and Tim would have walked away with another blown up, washed up welterweight on his record. So,
and it doesn't look good that Keith Thurman hasn't even had a fight or been even entertaining a fight since then.
No, he kicked the living shit out of Brock Jarvis, remember?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about since the Brock Jarvis fight, meaning he never tried to go after anything else after the Tszyu fight fell through.
Well, yeah, I mean, they were
like he's still on the shelf, like
Yeah. Well, he'll probably be there for another 5 years. You know what he's like? He only turns up every couple of years.
Yeah, every few years. Yeah.
Exactly. So I wouldn't worry about Keith Thurman. Yeah, but no, it's a real 50-50 fight, and I'll look at it this way: if Tim doesn't win, he's buggered at 154. He'll need to move up to 160. So
yeah,
because his chances of getting a title shot again at 154, if Fundora beats him, pretty much zero.
Yeah, and right now, 154 is getting stronger. Yeah, it's getting stronger now that you got Virgil Ortiz up there. You got Bouts in this, moving up. Basically, let me say it this way: it's getting deeper.
Exactly. Hey, Oh, God, what's that bloke's name? The bloke's name's Kelly. Wasn't he supposed to be talking
Josh Kelly. Yeah, well, let me tell you,
that's
Josh Kelly his team has been notoriously known as bullshitting around. They're babysitting. It's like they're hanging in that spot for the perfect fight, it seems, where they can make the most money, but they could have been had a title shot. You know, so
Yeah,
he's just hanging around in the top 3 and not really doing shit, meaning Josh Kelly.
Fair enough. And Nikita's coming back on August 20th, and Zaraf will be on the undercard, so they can promote that fight later in the year.
And that's going to be another pay-per-view. Nikita Tszyu behind a paywall. Makes no sense. Makes no sense. So, all right, we're going to be here for Fight Week preview for Tszyu, or Sebastian Fundora and Tszyu 2. I'm really interested to see what path the winner is going to take, and even if Tszyu would even entertain a rematch with Bakhram Murtazaliev or Virgil Ortiz, whoever wins that fight. I remember at one point in time, Tszyu was linked to Virgil Ortiz.
He was.
And it was even on paper, on a billboard. I mean, on a promotional poster. It was done and official at one point in time. Your closing thoughts, and how do you think Tim wins?
7-round KO.
Mm-hmm.
So 7-round KO. Just for the throw it in there. Shay Keneally. I don't know if you're familiar with her. She's a WBA light heavyweight women's champion.
Mm-hmm.
She's got a title defense on July 25th.
Okay.
Somewhere I think that's on the Gold Coast or Brisbane. Shannon O'Connell's coming back.
Really?
Sometime in August. Yeah, she's fighting some lady. I think Andrew Maloney's got a what's the word I'm looking for? A title eliminator coming up too.
Okay.
Can't remember who against, but yeah, I think we've covered all bases.
Yeah. All right. Closing thoughts on everything.
Oh well, you know, mate, just Aussie boxing going from strength to strength. Hopefully, I hope Cal kicks the shit out of Sonny Bill.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to try to find that fight. I'm gonna try to find it. You know,
yeah,
being the degenerate boxing fan I am, I'm gonna try to find it.
Well, that's on Wednesday night, so
yeah.
Good thing it wasn't last Wednesday night because Origin was on. So Queensland won, by the way, in case anyone cares. In case any international rugby league fans cares, Queensland kicked the shit out of New South Wales again. Fucking brilliant, love it. So it's like what's the American equivalent to Origin? Dallas, the Cowboys versus
the Eagles.
Yeah, I don't know.
The biggest rivalries. Yeah.
The Lakers versus the Celtics.
Okay, there you go. All right. 2 historic organizations.
Yep. So that's how big Origin is in this country. It's like when the Lakers take on the Celtics.
Okay.
Same thing.
All right. So with that being said, you can expect post-fight videos for all those fights that we just talked about. You're going to see a video from me and Big JV available tonight for the winner, Shanika Johnson and Sharetta Metcalf, because it'll be undisputed. What'd you say?
Give me a ring.
So you know, it'll be for undisputed. So you know, significant fight tonight in women's boxing, and of course next week we're going to be here for full coverage of Pacquiao versus Barrios and Tszyu versus Sebastian Fundora. You can follow me on TstreeT Controversy. The link is down below in the description box, and here I'll pull up old mate Big J's Twitter, which is right here, and you can go give a follow.
And Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, you on Instagram too?
I've been on Instagram for like a year and a half.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, yeah, I got it. Yeah, he's also on Instagram, and give a follow. We'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.